Okay, good afternoon students, welcome to NEET World. So this video is the second part of neural control and coordination. In the first class we already discussed what is neuron, what are the types of neuron, what are the parts of neuron, we already discussed in first video, right. So today we have to discuss the transmission of these synaptic vesicles, how the synaptic vesicles are transferring from one neuron to another neuron, that thing we have to discuss. After that we will move forward into the types of this human nervous system, right. Right. Starting with synapse. So what is synapse? First we have to understand what is synapse, right. Synapse. So there is one neuron and there is another neuron. In between neuron we have some gap. So that gap is called as what? Synaptic gap or synaptic cleft, right. So with this what happens? So if you see, this is what? This is the terminal part of axon. So we already know these are called as what? Synaptic knobs, right. In these synaptic knobs, what are they? There are some vesicles. There are some vesicles which are having some proteins which are also called as what? Neurotransmitters, right. So in these synaptic vesicles, what are they? Neurotransmitters are there. So whenever there is an impulse is coming, then what happens? All these neurotransmitters are going to activate, right. All these neurotransmitters are going to activate. Then what happens? These neurotransmitters come to this membrane. So what is this membrane? This is called as presynaptic membrane, right. So this is the first neuron, right. It is the presynaptic membrane. Whereas coming to this membrane, and this membrane is called as what? Postsynaptic membrane, right. This is what? Postsynaptic membrane. So the neurotransmitters are present where? Presynaptic neuron, and they are going to fuse with what membrane? Presynaptic membrane. Whenever the neurotransmitters are coming to this presynaptic membrane, then what happens? They are going to fuse with this membrane, and there is a process called exocytosis. What is that? Exocytosis. Exocytosis. Sir, what is this exocytosis? Whenever the membrane is fused with the synaptic vesicles, what happens? All the content of the synaptic vesicles are released out. So this is called as what? Exocytosis. So whenever the neurotransmitters are released out in this gap is called as what? Synaptic cleft. And whenever what happens? In this postsynaptic membrane, what are there? There are some receptors that are there for the neurotransmitters. Whenever the neurotransmitters are going to release in this synaptic cleft, all these are go and bind with what? Receptors. All these are go and bind with what? Receptors. These receptors are present where? Postsynaptic membrane. Synaptic vesicles are present where? Presynaptic neuron, and this is postsynaptic neuron. Understand? So in this postsynaptic neuron we have some what? Receptors. So these receptors recognize this neurotransmitter, or this neurotransmitter will bind to this particular receptor. Then what happens? Some opening of channels such as sodium channels. Again this neuron will be initiated. There is a generation of action potential, or there is a generation of impulse occurs. So this how one neuron to another neuron, one impulse is going to transfer, right. So there are two kinds of impulse transfer. One is what? Chemical one with the help of neurotransmitters. Another one is what? Electrical. Sir, on what basis we classified this electrical synapse and chemical synapse? For example, if you see here, there is a gap. right? Whenever if you see there is an electrical synapse, so the gap will be very minute. So based on the diameter of this synaptic cleft, we have categorized two types of synapse. One is what chemical synapse, another one is what electrical synapse. In this electrical synapse, there will be minute gap, and because of this minute gap, the impulse will be carried out very fast. Whereas in chemical synapse, it is based on this neurotransmitters. There are some mechanism has to happen, because all the process has to happen, like exocytosis, and these receptors has to recognize these neurotransmitters, and opening of calcium ions, and opening of sodium ions. Sodium ions has to entered into this postsynaptic neuron, and again in this it has to generate action potential. So it will take some amount of time. So definitely it will be slow. See, this chemical synapse is very slow, whereas this electrical synapse is very fast. And also these are very rare in our human body, and these are very common. And these are very common, and these are very rare in our human body. So based on these properties, we classified two types of synapse. One is what chemical synapse, another one is electrical synapse. In this electrical synapse, there will be no neurotransmitter, only the impulse. What we studied, how the propagation of this nerve impulse takes place in this axon. Likewise, only one neuron to another neuron will be generated. But in chemical synapse, there are some neurotransmitter has neurotransmitter has playing a crucial role in this transmission of nerve impulse. Understand what is this synaptic transmission, because with the help of synaptic vesicles which contains neurotransmitters, they will send the information from presynaptic neuron to postsynaptic neuron. So this is how the synaptic transmission will happens in between neurons. It definitely presynaptic is definitely neuron, whereas the postsynaptic membrane, it may be neuron, it may be gland, it may be muscular. So whatever the postsynaptic, the presynaptic, definitely it will be a neuron only, right? We have so many examples. We already studied all the neuromuscular junction, glandular junction, neuronal junction also we studied. So this is how the transmission of nerve impulse will be done, right? So is there any issue with live? No, right? So this is how the transmission of synaptic vesicles will occur. Now we'll move to the types of nervous system. So basically, nervous system was categorized into two types. One is what? Central nervous system, another one is peripheral nervous system. So central, so the body's central regions, what are there? Brain and spinal cord. These are coming under what? Central nervous system. So body was categorized into two categories. One is central nervous system, another one is peripheral nervous system. If you see the body, the center coordination point is what? Brain, and also what? Spinal cord. So these two are coming under what region? Central nervous system. Whereas coming to the peripheral nervous system, periphery is nothing but visceral areas, all the ends. So all the body parts are spreaded by some nerves. So all the peripheral nerves under coming of what? Peripheral nervous system. All the nerves which spread over the body, these are what? Cranial nerves, spinal nerves, all these nerves are called as what? Peripheral nervous system, right? So in this peripheral nervous system, we have two types of neurons or two types of nerve fibers. What is that? Afferent and efferent. This kind of thing we already seen in this excretion, right? So let us revise. Sir, what is afferent nerve fibers and what is efferent nerve fibers? If you see the body or if you see anything diagram, so there are some nerves which can transfer the impulse from different parts of the body to brain, which can transfer the impulse or information from different parts of the body to brain. See, from hand to brain, from hand to brain, legs, from different parts of the body. So these are the nerves called what? Efferent, right? So you have to make center. What is that? This is brain. To brain, there are some nerves are connected, and these nerves brings the information from different areas of the body, and it will take the information to brain. This is called what? Efferent nerve fibers, right? And there are some brains. From a brain, it will send the information to the organs or the tissues which are spread over the body. So those are called as what? Efferent. So this black color one I showed, this is called efferent, and this red color one I showed, this is called efferent nerve fibers, right? So there are two types of nerve fibers, efferent and efferent. So this kind of same thing we already seen in human excretion, efferent arterioles and efferent arteriole. Same thing, efferent is nothing but incoming and efferent is nothing but outgoing, right? So peripheral nervous system, and this peripheral nervous system also classified into two types. One is what? Autonomous nervous system and somatic nervous system. What is that? Autonomous nervous system and somatic nervous system. Based on what? Based on its response. Based on its response, it classified into two types of nervous system. Sir, what is autonomous? We have some colleges, right? Autonomous colleges. So what they will do? They will take their own decisions. They will take their own syllabus, curriculum, activities, like that. Autonomous will work. So the same kind of thing, autonomous will function on the organs which are involuntary. So we cannot control the organs, such as what? Smooth muscles, right? And all the digestive and all the internal visceral organs we cannot control. They will perform their own activities without any dependent, right? So all these organs which are called involuntary in nature, all the involuntary functions are done by what? Autonomic nervous system. Whereas coming to the somatic nervous system, it will communicate with what? Voluntary organs. What is the voluntary thing we have? Muscles. Skeletal muscles we have voluntary function, because we can take whatever, we can do whatever with the skeletal muscles. So skeletal muscles are the best examples of what? Voluntary action. So this somatic nervous system performs or communicate with this voluntary muscles which are called as skeletal muscles. Understand? Autonomous, remember we have autonomous college which is nothing but involuntary functions. So the examples are what? Internal organs, visceral organs. Whereas opposite to the autonomous, what is that? Voluntary organs, which is also called as this thing, skeletal muscle. So which is communicating with what? Skeletal muscle. So that thing is what? Somatic nervous system. Like, so in this autonomous, so it is controlling all the visceral organs, right? It is controlling all the organs, which is nothing but all the body parts. It's controlling. So based on its type also, it was classified into two categories. One is what? Sympathetic nervous system. Another one is what? Parasympathetic nervous system. So we are coming peripheral nervous system. It is controlling all the body, and it is controlling all the body. In that we have two types. One is autonomous and somatic. Autonomous is controlling all the organs, and in the organs also we have two kinds. One is what? Sympathetic nervous system, another one is parasympathetic nervous system. This sympathetic nervous system functions or works on where? So we have one thing which is called as emergency kind of thing. Emergency kind of thing. So we have some organs, you will learn in this endocrinology. There are some hormones which are called as fight and flight hormones. So this sympathetic nervous system will works under this emergency conditions, whereas the opposite to the emergency is nothing but body relax. Opposite to the emergency is called as what? Body state. Generally it will be in relax, right? So whenever the body is in relaxed condition, then what happens? This parasympathetic nervous system will be work. So whenever we sleeping, whenever we eating, the digested food has to digest, right? So that thing, so that times whenever the body is in relaxed mode, Now what happens? This parasympathetic nervous system will be worked. Whenever the body is in emergency condition, whenever the heartbeat is increasing, all this kind of situation, that times what? Sympathetic nervous system will be worked. Understand? So we have this type of nervous system, starting with the nervous system of central nervous system, which includes brain and spinal cord. So these are the coordinating system, like CPU, central processing unit of a system, right? So CPU idea undi kada, we have central processing unit. Like that we have this brain and spinal cord, and how we have some nerves which are different types of nerve. One is sensory nerves, another one is motor nerve. We know, right, sensory nerves are nothing but what? They take the information from this all the regions to the brain, which is also called as what? Afferent nerves. And there are some motor nerves which brings the information from the brain to the all parts of the body, which is also called as efferent nerves, right? After that, this peripheral nervous system was classified into two types, autonomous and somatic. All the visceral organs, involuntary organs are controlling by this system, and the voluntary organs such as skeletal muscle is controlling by this system. And based on the body condition, if it is emergency, sympathetic; if it is relaxed, parasympathetic, right? So this is about the types of nervous system. In this, we have to learn about this brain, right? Now we'll see about brain. So this is the brain is the one which is very important, which is coordinating, controlling all the movements of our body. So we already discussed for locomotion, this muscular activity, and also this skeleton activity, and also this neural activity. These three systems are coordinated with one function, which is called as what? Locomotion. To perform locomotion, all these three systems has to coordinate. Likewise, another thing is called as endocrinology, and this neuron and endocrinology will combine together and perform all the body functions. So for all these things, brain is the one which is called as controlling center. So it is protected by what? Some cranial cavity, and the bone is called as what? Skull, right? So this brain is made up of this brain is covered by three layers. What are they? Three layers. Right? These three layers are called as what? Cranial meninges, right? So there are three layers. One is dura mater. This is the outer layer, right? And another one is what? Arachnoid meter. This is the middle layer. Another one is what? Pia meter. This is inner layer. So this was the previous year question of NEET 2026. In one question they gave three options: A, B, C and D. D, what they gave? Cardiac muscle or cardiac layers, which is called as pericardium. Pericardium, right? I think it is pericardium, fourth option. They have given the question, which of the following is not involved in brain controlling thing, right? This is not involved in brain controlling thing, and it is dura mater. It is the layer of this brain also. It is also layer of this brain. This is also layer of this brain. So these three are involved in the brain, whereas this cardium, this pericardium, is involved in the covering of heart. This is the previous year NEET 2000 question. So from simple things only they will ask in different way, right? Understand this layers of this brain, which is also called as what? Cranial meninges, right? So there are three layers: dura mater, arachnoid mater and pia mater. Now we will see how the structural organization of this brain was done. So it was divided into three categories. One is what? Forebrain, another one is what? Midbrain, and third one is what? Hindbrain, right? So this forebrain has three regions. One is cerebrum, not cerebellum, one is cerebrum. Another one is what? Thalamus and hypothalamus. This forebrain was having three portions. What is that? One is cerebrum, another one is thalamus, another one is hypothalamus. If you see the structure, this entire region is called as what? Cerebrum, right? So this is very big portion. It is consisting major portion of the brain. It is very big, right? So in this very big, it was divided into two categories, like it was divided into left and right cerebral hemispheres, right? There was half. So that's why this left and right hemispheres was divided, the cerebrum. So this left and right hemispheres was connected with some nerve tissue. So if you see this, this thing, it was the tract of nerve fibers or tuft of nerve fibers which connects this both left and right cerebral hemispheres. That is what called corpus callosum. There is a tract or tuft of nerve fibers which are also called as group of nerve fibers which connects both left hemisphere to right hemisphere. That is present here, this region, and this thing is called as what? Corpus callosum, right? And this cortex, this cerebrum is covered by a layer of cells which is also called as what? Cerebral cortex. This cerebrum is covered by layer of cells which are called as what? Cerebral cortex. In this, what happens? There are some kind of cells are there. They are doing three different kind of functions. One is what? Motor functions. Another one is what? Sensory functions. Another one is what? Association, which are also called as some memory, information memory, and also this thing memory and IQ. Different kind of functions are going to take place. So there are three kinds of functions was done by this cerebral cortex. What is cerebral cortex? It is a layer of cells which surrounds this cerebrum, right? Understand? So along with that, this cerebrum is performs doing some functions like motor functions, sensory functions, and there is one thing, it is not involved in motor and not sensory, it is involved in association functions, right? This is what the function of cerebrum. They will give the options, they will put matching, they will give cerebrum here and they will give some options according to its function. We have to match the function. That's how they will raise this question. Next one, coming to this next part, which is also called as thalamus. Thalamus, if you see, this thalamus is surrounded by this cerebrum. It is also involved in this motor and sensory functions. Thalamus also involved in motor and sensory controllings. Understand? Control signaling of this motor and sensory. Thalamus also. And below the thalamus, we have what? Hypothalamus. So about this hypothalamus, you will clearly understand in endocrinology. Now just remember, there is one part below the thalamus which is also called as what? Hypothalamus. It performs all the functions of, it performs all the functions like controlling body temperature, hungry, thirst. So these are all what? Regulations. Body internal and external temperature controlling. Homotherms maintains the body temperature. That kind of functions was controlled by what? Hypothalamus. Right? So along with the hypothalamus, in this forebrain, we have another two structures which are also called as what? Amygdala and hippocampus. These amygdala, hippocampus, these are the parts which constitute and which also called as what? Limbic system. What is that? There is two portions which are also called as what? Amygdala and also hippocampus. These two regions grouped together and form one system which is called as what? Limbic system. Along with the limbic system, there is one thing which is called as hypothalamus. All these together performs different kind of functions. What are the functions which are involved in pleasure, sexual activities, right? All the mood swings, right? All the mood swings, this kind of activities will be done by this limbic system along with hypothalamus. Understand about this forebrain. Forebrain was divided into cerebrum, thalamus and hypothalamus. Cerebrum, it was divided into left and right cerebral hemisphere, and both together connected by one tissue or one group of tissues called as corpus callosum. Right. So we already discussed this forebrain. Forebrain has three regions. One is what? Cerebrum and thalamus, hypothalamus. Cerebrum was classified or divided into two left and right cerebral hemispheres, which is connected by this corpus callosum. And also there is one layer of cells which covers this cerebrum, which called as cerebral cortex, right? After that we discussed thalamus. It is surrounded by this cerebrum, and beneath the thalamus we have hypothalamus, and it was performing different functions like regulation of body temperature, thirst, hungry. This kind of functions will be done by this hypothalamus. And also there is one important thing, this hypothalamus has some cells which are very important. These are called as what? Neurosecretory cells. Neurosecretory cells. Sir, what is these neurosecretory cells? These are the cells which releases hormones. This thing you will clearly understand in this chemical regulation. There are some cells which are present in hypothalamus which releases some hormones like releasing hormones or tropic hormones, right? So that was the special characteristic feature about this hypothalamus, and it was also connected with glands, pituitary gland, right? Next one, and there is one system which is also called as what? Limbic system, and this limbic system is grouped by amygdala and hippocampus, right? So along with the limbic system, hypothalamus, these together perform some similar kind of functions like sexual activities, pleasure, mood swings, different kind of functions which is related to brain, hormones, emotions kind of thing. That functions will be performed by this both system. So this is all about forebrain. Now we will move to midbrain, right? So this center portion, see, this center portion is what it is called midbrain. This midbrain has two different kind of functions, doing visual and auditory, controls this visual and auditory functions, right? So next, it's a very simple kind of thing. Next one, we have hindbrain. Hindbrain is divided, or it has pons, it has cerebellum, and it has medulla oblongata. Initially it was called as medulla oblongata in previous books. Now they are calling it as medulla. So both are same, right? Cerebellum, pons and medulla oblongata. These three structures we are calling it as what? Hindbrain. Sir, what is pons? If you see this thing, so this region is called as pons. So this is having a tuft of nerve fibers. These are also having tuft of nerve fibers which connects all parts of the brain, right? It is having tuft of nerve fibers which connects all parts of the brain. And also if you see, there is a canal behind this pons and all this medulla oblongata starting with the midbrain. So this canal is called as what? Cerebral aqueduct. What is that? The canal which behind dorsal side of this pons and along runs from this midbrain. So that canal is called as what? Cerebral aqueduct. Right. So in pons only we have two kind of lobes. If you see here, there is one diagram. It is showing only two, but having four. So one side to another side too. So one is what? In anterior side, another one is what? Posterior side. So these anterior lobes, one pair of anterior lobes, nothing but two lobes doing the function of visual reflexes, and two lobes which are at posterior region, they are doing the function of auditory reflexes. Understand? So we have two kind of lobes, two pairs of lobes which are present on dorsal side of this pons and this thing. We will discuss about this brainstem also. There are lobes which are present at this region. So these four lobes, outer two are anterior, two are posterior, and anterior lobes are responsible for the visual and the posterior lobes are responsible for the auditory reflexes, right? So next one you have to discuss cerebellum. If you see cerebellum, it has more space. This space is called as what? Convoluted spaces. This space is called as what? Convoluted spaces. Responsible for what? We already discussed, whenever there is a more space, it increases surface area which accumulates more absorption. Likewise, same thing, it has more space which is called as what? Convoluted spaces, for the accumulation of more number of neurons. Understand? For the accumulation, for the capacity of accommodating more number of neurons. So that was the function of this cerebellum. And also there is a one medulla, it is connected with what? Spinal cord. In this medulla we have also some functions which are gastric functions, controlling all the gastric activities. So that kind of functions was done by with this medulla oblongata, and this medulla oblongata is elongated into spinal cord. It was only connected into spinal cord. And cerebellum, it has convoluted spaces. It is the dorsal portion of the brain. It also having more number of neurons, because what? It is having convoluted spaces. It is having more amount of the surface area, right? And also this pons also having in this midbrain. So this was the three parts of hindbrain and midbrain and forebrain. And next one, if you see, for example, if you take this diagram as a tree, so this will be the stem and this will be the canopy of the tree. So if you observe in this stem portion, what are they? There is one midbrain, there is one this thing, this is called as pons, and another one medulla oblongata. So the first one is what? Midbrain, and the second one is pons, and third one is what? Medulla oblongata. These three looking like one central origin, this region is called as what? Stem, also called as what? Brain stem. Understand what is brain stem? Understand what is brain stem? In brain stem, what are the different parts are involved? Midbrain, pons and medulla oblongata. These three are involved in forming one stem which is called as what? Brain stem. So this is all about this structure of brain. Understand the structure of brain. We have right, this cerebral cortex has different functions like motor functions, sensory functions, and association area responsible for what? Memory and communication. This thing I forgot, this communication. We already discussed this about memory. If you cross section this cerebrum, you will find two regions. So this outer region having some dark portion which is called as what? Gray matter. and inside you will see what white opaque kind of thing, which is called as what, white matter. So this is gray matter, this is white matter. We already know what are the neurons are present in this white and gray matter, right? So for example, if you take one neuron, the neuron which is having myelinated portion, which is also called as axon portion, all the axon portions of the neuron are present in what, white matter, whereas the cell bodies, dendrites of this neuron are present in gray matter, right? Understand? Next one, right, about thalamus. It is the structure around which cerebrum wraps. So this thalamus is surrounded by all this cerebrum, right? It's also controlling the motor and sensory informations, signals, right? Next one, is about midbrain and hindbrain, right? So this is midbrain. It's also controlling all the functions of this. What are the functions? What are the functions I told this about midbrain? So it's controlling sometimes our brain won't work. What? Yeah. So visual and auditory function. Yes, thank you. So this midbrain is controlling what, visual and auditory functions, right? So if you see here, they clearly represent. So these lobes, there are 4 lobes, 2 pairs, anterior and posterior. These lobes are called as what, corpora quadrigemia. Lobes are called as what, corpora quadrigemia. So anterior responsible for visual, posterior responsible for auditory, along with this pons and medulla oblongata. They also mention, see, cerebral aqueduct. See, this canal which is dorsal to this hindbrain and elongated from this midbrain, this canal is only called as what, cerebral aqueduct. Duct means called canal, right? So that was the thing. See, the cerebellum is also called as what, little cerebrum. It is having convoluted surfaces for what, accommodate more neurons. We already discussed, right? It is coordinate all the muscular activities and body equilibrium in condition. Coming to the medulla, this is about this. This is about pons. It consists of fiber tracts that interconnected different regions of brain. I already told about this pons, right? So this is all about this brain. This is all about the internal structure of brain. We already discussed the 3 parts. One is forebrain, hindbrain, midbrain, right? So based on this thing, we have some questions of previous year's NEET questions, right? So if you solve these questions, it will be very easy to remember, right? So there is one thing, specific receptors of neurotransmitter in a synapse are present on where, postsynaptic membrane. So Schwann cells are present on axons giving myelin sheath. Presynaptic membrane is having synaptic vesicles which contains neurotransmitters. Myelin sheath is responsible for the fast conduction, whereas postsynaptic membrane having these receptors, right? So that was, it was also one previous year question. I think NEET 2026 question, right? NEET 2026, not re-NEET, NEET 2026. Right, we have some matchings. So Schwann cells, synaptic knobs, bipolar neurons, multipolar neurons. With one option, huh? So A, okay, Schwann cells which gives rise to myelin sheath. So A is 3. So next B is what? Synaptic knobs which in having synaptic vesicles, which synaptic vesicles contains what? Neurotransmitters. Next C, bipolar neurons. These bipolar neurons has in retina. And also this multipolar neurons are present in cerebral cortex. Multipolar neurons I said, so we have many number of dendrites. It takes information from all directions which is present in this cerebral cortex, right? So that was easy. Next ones, this pons, hypothalamus, medulla and cerebellum. B. What is A? Pons, which connects different regions of brain because it is having tuft of nerve fibers. Coming to hypothalamus, it has neurosecretory cells, and medulla. Yes, gastric secretions. I already told, controls respirations and gastric secretions. Cerebellum, it is having additional space, which means also accumulate or accommodate more number of neurons. Additional space for neurons, regulates posture and balance activities. So the option is second, right. Statement related questions which are also simple. So the cerebral hemispheres are connected by nerve tract known as corpus callosum. Statement 2, the brain stem consists of what? Medulla oblongata, pons and cerebrum. Not this thing, right? So it was a midbrain. So option C, statement 1 is correct, statement 2 is incorrect. So this is how they will give questions from this chapter. All are very simple when you will study only. Whenever you study, then only it will be very simple to give all the questions, right? So this is all about the nervous system control and coordination. So we have exam on this thing on 15th, right? Understand, clear about this thing, nervous system. Just revise this thing once in your home, then it will be very easy, right? Thank you.